Welcome to the evening session of the Captive Power Conference Series 2009, which have been conducted in Raipur and Bhubaneswar. This is the first of the series which has been conducted in Raipur, and with me is Mr. Balwant Joshi, our knowledge partner for this series. Welcome to the show, Mr. Joshi.
Thank you.
Mr. Joshi, I'd like to know what is ABPS and what are the services that you offer?
ABPS Infrastructure Advisory is a consulting firm, and we provide services in the area of policy and regulatory consulting, financial advisory, renewable energy project development, energy efficiency, and climate change areas. This company was started by four of us, as the name suggests, A, B, P, and S. All of us used to work together at one point of time, so we came out of our jobs and started this company. Policy and regulatory consulting is one of the largest service within the company, and as a part of that, we work with the regulators, we work with the policymakers. One or two things what we are doing currently, which are very important, is we are working with Ministry of New and Renewable Energy in development of the renewable energy certificate mechanism and its implementation. Also, what we are doing with the same ministry is developing a promotional mechanism for solar water heating systems in a big way in the country. So that has been the kind of work we have been doing.
Now this is very interesting because the hotel at which the conference is going on, this present one, is using solar water heaters to send water into the rooms. So we'd like to know, starting off with solar energy, what sort of provisions are states providing in India to schedule solar energy, solar power, which is basically infirm or not firm power, whatever you could say, and can that be banked? Can that be used as a reliable means of supply where solar power producers can actually bank this electricity and use it later?
Yeah, actually, there has been a lot of misconception about solar. See, the solar energy could be divided, or solar applications could be divided into two parts. One is the grid connected solar energy generation, and the second one is about off-grid solar applications. What we have in the country today is primarily off-grid solar applications. That's like a solar water heating systems, solar lanterns, solar street lighting systems, solar water pumps, so on and so forth, or solar home lighting systems. We have a very little capacity, very little capacity of the solar electricity generation which is grid connected. In fact, according to the official data from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, barely 3 megawatt of solar grid connected energy generation existed as on 31st March 2009. Recently, one more plant of 1 megawatt has been established. So that takes to around 4 megawatt or at best 5 megawatt. That is also primarily using solar photovoltaic technology. So it's a very small generation. Most of the generation is experimental basis. In fact, a few years back, the ministry had a program wherein they provided systems to various state electricity boards for demonstration purposes, for installation on their rooftops or a place where they would like to install them. So that's actually constitutes that 3 megawatt of the power generation capacity, where 110 kilowatt grid connected systems have been installed. But the potential is immense. One of the reasons is we in India get very good solar radiation as compared to the large number of European countries. However, also the problem is, we being a tropical country, we also have a lot of dust in the air. So as a result, proportion of the direct radiation and indirect radiation varies from place to place. What we need to do is that we need to really prepare a kind of a solar maps for different parts of the country, which will help us actually identify potential and suitable technologies for India. If you know, quite a few of these technologies have been developed in Europe, which doesn't experience high temperatures like what we do in India.
Okay.
So a lot of technologies, especially PV technologies, we have to see how good or how they operate in Indian circumstances.
And solar thermal?
Solar thermal is, is a totally different technology. In this technology, essentially the steam is generated and then subsequently turbine generator cycle exists, which is a typical Rankine cycle. There are few plants which exist all over the world, but there is none in India as of today. Okay. Also, the solar thermal technology requires direct radiation, while solar PV also works with indirect radiation. So, solar thermal technology, which requires direct radiation, can work where there is a high level of direct radiation. However, we need to see such places whether they have enough water to run solar thermal power plant. So there are a lot of complexities involved in this, and the basic level of research which needs to be put in for implementation or successful implementation of the project has to happen.
You talked about requirements of water to meet the fuel requirements or other the requirements for the solar thermal plant. In the conference we were discussing where the Chief Secretary, Mr. Joy Uman, said that private power producers and the private sector should also share some of the burden, in the sense that there are opportunity costs to the amount of water and coal that the private power sector is using to generate power, and that it is only natural that the state should be allowed to have some kind of leverage over them, whether by restricting the amount of way, getting them to sign PPAs and selling them cheaper power and allowing them to surplus and given fraction of the captive power towards outside to market requirements. So where is the balance? Where can a state achieve this balance wherein the state's interests can also be taken care of? That's because you've been working with states, you've been working with regulators, as well as meeting market clearing requirements wherein markets can also function and be helping the long term.
See, this issue exists for all natural resources, whether water or coal or natural gas, any natural resource. We would have this dilemma of how exactly we balance the requirements of the different stakeholders. And depending on the nature of the resource, we need to define the policy or prioritization, of usage. Like, in the case of water sector, all over the country, the prioritization exists in terms of water is first to be used for the purpose of drinking. Second, it is to be used for the purpose of irrigation. Third usage is for the industry. And then subsequently other usage such as commercial or anything. But state of Maharashtra, if you see the water resource allocation policy, gives higher weightage to industrial usage than irrigation. So it's a conscious decision taken by the state of Maharashtra for water allocation. I wouldn't like to get into what is right or what is wrong, but this kind of allocation policies will have to be defined. Something similar exists for natural gas. So there exists a priority or defined by the Government of India for usage of natural gas. And this fine balance has to be achieved by the government by way of its policies for the usage of resources. And the regulators will have to essentially abide by these policies.